All right, let's get right into it. We're going to dive into this absolutely incredible story of espionage and naval strategy, all from the 1971 war.
So have you ever wondered how the destruction of just one single submarine could literally change the entire course of a war? Well, our story begins with a mystery, one that still lies at the bottom of the Bay of Bengal. It's a classic tale of the hunter becoming the hunted.
Picture this. It's December 3rd, 1971, right off the coast of Visakhapatnam in India. On this very night, right as war is officially declared between India and Pakistan, the people in this coastal city hear this massive, just inexplicable explosion coming from out on the water.
So, what in the world was that sound? We're talking about an earth-shattering blast here. It broke windows for miles around, and a lot of the locals, well, they thought they were being bombed from the air.
But it wasn't an air raid, no. That deafening sound, that was Pakistan's deadliest, most advanced submarine meeting a very, very fiery end.
So to really get how this happened, we've got to rewind a bit. We need to look at the intense political and humanitarian crisis that really set the stage for this whole dramatic showdown at sea.
Okay, so for decades, there was this simmering tension. You had West Pakistan politically, economically, and culturally suppressing East Pakistan. And then in 1970, the East's democratically elected leaders, they were just denied power. That was the last straw. Everything just boiled over, and it led to this incredibly violent military crackdown called Operation Searchlight.
And the result of that crackdown? A staggering 10 million refugees fled from East Pakistan right into India, trying to escape the atrocities. I mean, can you even imagine? This created an absolutely massive humanitarian crisis, and it pulled India right to the very brink of war.
Now, let's talk about the big players. At the very heart of India's naval power was this one ship, the INS Vikrant. Think of it as India's floating airstrip. It was their only aircraft carrier, which meant it could launch airstrikes, it could blockade ports, and that capability made it Pakistan's #1 target, period.
So right here, this really frames the whole conflict, doesn't it? It's a classic hunter and prey situation. You've got Pakistan's PNS Ghazi, this powerful, US-built submarine, and its target is India's most prized possession, their aircraft carrier. The stakes? Yeah, they could not have been any higher.
See, Pakistan's thinking was pretty straightforward. They knew that if they had any chance of supporting their forces over in the east, they had to get rid of the INS Vikrant, and the best time to do it? Before the war even officially kicked off.
So, the mission they gave to the Ghazi was simple, it was direct, and it was absolutely deadly. The primary objective? Hunt down and destroy the INS Vikrant. Secondary objective? Lay mines all along India's eastern coast. Their whole strategy hinged on this one sub-success.
But, and this is a big but, a single officer was about to completely unravel their entire plan. This is where the story takes a really sharp turn. It goes from being a straightforward military mission to a thrilling tale of intelligence, counter-espionage, and just pure deception.
On November 10th, 1971, after 72 straight sleepless hours, an officer named Major Dharamdev Dutt and his team, they did it. They cracked the Pakistani naval code. This was a monumental breakthrough. They decoded these secret messages that laid it all bare. The Ghazi was on its way, and its mission was to hunt the Vikrant. All of a sudden, India knew the hunter was coming for them.
So, let's move into the next phase here, because just knowing the plan, that wasn't going to be enough, not by a long shot. Now India had to figure out a way to turn Pakistan's own strategy right back against them. And that brings us to Vice Admiral Krishnan's dilemma. He was the chief of India's Eastern Naval Command, and he had this huge problem. How in the world do you hide a 16,000-ton aircraft carrier? And more than that, how do you turn the hunter into the hunted? Well, his solution was brilliant. It wasn't just to hide the Vikrant, it was to create a
The deception plan they came up with was just genius. So many layers to it. Step 1. Hide the real INS Vikrant way out in the remote Andaman Islands, hundreds of miles away. Step 2. Take an old destroyer, the INS Rajput, and have it pretend to be the Vikrant. Step 3. The Rajput starts broadcasting heavy radio traffic using the Vikrant's call sign. All of this was designed to lure the PNS Ghazi right into a trap at Visakhapatnam harbor.
And the man in charge of that decoy ship, Commander Inder Singh of the INS Rajput, he made a promise. He said, whether I return or not, INS Rajput will return. I mean, think about that. He and his entire crew knew exactly what they were doing. They were sailing a much smaller,
older ship directly into the path of a state-of-the-art submarine that was built to kill ships many times its size.
And the way they sold this lie was just incredible. The level of detail is amazing. They sent a fake telegram from a sailor, casually mentioning that the Vikrant was in Visakhapatnam. They went to the local markets and very publicly bought massive amounts of fresh food, enough to feed the giant crew of an aircraft carrier. And all the while, the INS Rajput was just blasting out a huge volume of radio signals, perfectly mimicking a large vessel. It was all designed to be picked up by Pakistani spies.
So, checkmate, the trap was set, the bait was taken, hook, line, and sinker, and now the PNS Ghazi was steaming at full speed right towards Visakhapatnam, chasing a ghost and heading for a fate it never, ever expected.
So here we are, the final hours, December 3rd, 1971. At 5:47 p.m., Pakistan launches airstrikes on India. The war is officially on. Hours later, at 11:45 p.m., the INS Rajput gets orders to leave port. Then, at 12:10 a.m., its sonar gets a hit, a submarine just offshore. 4 minutes later, the Rajput turns and drops 2 depth charges right on that contact. And at 12:15 a.m., a catastrophic explosion just rips through the water. In the dead of night, this whole elaborate chess match comes to a sudden, violent end.
Imagine being on that ship, the INS Rajput. They'd been patrolling for days, just waiting, searching. And then, a sonar ping. That was the moment. Their sonar picked up a clear, distinct contact. A submarine, lurking just outside the harbor.
Target acquired. And the Rajput did not hesitate for a second. It turned sharply right towards that contact, released 2 powerful depth charges into the water, and then gunned it, speeding away from the blast zone. They left that unseen enemy to its fate, deep below the surface.
And the result? 93. That was the number of Pakistani crewmen aboard the PNS Ghazi who were lost when it sank. It was an absolutely devastating and pivotal blow to the Pakistani Navy. In one single blast, their most potent naval weapon in the East was completely neutralized.
The wreck of the PNS Ghazi still lies at the bottom of the sea today. It makes you wonder, right? What other secrets do the oceans hold from wars of the past? Because the sinking of the Ghazi did more than just take out a submarine. It secured India's entire eastern coast. It meant the real INS Vikrant was now free to completely dominate the Bay of Bengal, to enforce a crippling blockade, and ultimately to play a decisive role in the outcome of the war. It's truly one of military history's most audacious and most successful acts of wartime deception.